We're in a new environment today. Out in nature, feeling the breeze, looking at the trees, breathing in the fresh air. It's pretty nice. And that's kind of what inspired me to make this video today, right? So I got out of work early, and I was like, let's do something in my free time. Let's make a video. I've been wanting to come outside, make a video. So I was like, you know what? Let me find a park. So I go to find a park. There's probably like 3 parks I wanted to go to. I was looking for a shaded area. And while I was looking, I was hearing this fearful voice, and I was interacting with this fearful voice. This fearful voice was telling me to not come outside because it was fearful of, what if someone walks by on this trail and they're listening to me and they're perceiving me, and I'm fearful of being perceived. That invokes fear out of me in a way. And I was listening to that voice, what if someone's watching me? And I was believing it. And I was interacting with that fearful thought more and more, which just added more fuel to the fire. And eventually it almost got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this tomorrow. Which in reality, I probably wouldn't have done it tomorrow because I would have kept listening to that fearful voice. I was like, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm just gonna go home, recording outside, being perceived is kind of weird, what if someone walks by? I would hate that. That's what I was thinking, and I was agreeing to it. I was coming to terms with this fearful voice, and that's what inspired me to make this video. Is that we need to choose not to fear. We have to make that choice every day to not listen to the fear, to not believe in the fear. I think fear is always going to be a part of us. It impacts everybody's life. It probably impacts their situation that they're in, maybe their partner that they're with, the decisions they make on a day-to-day basis. The little ones, the major ones, fear is always involved. That voice is always going to be there to tell you why you shouldn't do it. And that's what I'm saying. We need to choose not to fear. That is a choice that we have to make every single day. By this, I've already recorded probably like 50 videos, right? So talking in front of a camera, I've gotten used to it. Comparing to myself 3 months ago, I've definitely gotten used to it, right? So I'm in my comfort zone right now, except for being in nature, because I'm usually in front of my desk, right? And that's where that fear really attacked. It really attacked me on how I would be perceived. There's this leaf. It's on a spider web, so that's why it's swinging around. But anyways, yeah. In every aspect of life, even something as simple as like me coming out in nature to record a video, that is not life changing. It's not like in tomorrow, this decision that I've made is not going to affect tomorrow. Like there's gonna be it's not gonna affect tomorrow, right? But still, that fearful voice will make it seem like what you are doing is too much for you to handle. And I think a lot of people don't like to admit to their fears because it makes them feel weak. Like I think probably an older version of me listening to this video probably like, yo, like this dude is really tripping about going to the park and recording a video, which might sound crazy. You might be thinking that, but it's like in my head, it seemed real. It seemed valid, and that's the fear. That's the illusion of fear, is that it makes it seem so real. And the more you dwell on it and just sit with that thought, the more real it becomes, and eventually becomes so real that now that fear has kept you physically stuck. That fear has now not allowed you to go out and maybe talk to that girl, or start this business, or upload a video, or do this and that, whatever it could be, big or small, like I'm saying. Fear it just holds us back. I spotted the spider. I gotta keep my eye on that. But anyways, fear is the enemy. You know, I've heard that quote, fear is the enemy, and that's true because the only thing fear will do is keep you back from your potential. Seriously. Fear will really only keep you back from your potential. And it makes sense why we fear, you know. Back then when we were cavemen, we had to worry about the saber-toothed tiger or the lion or a Nephilim, you know, a different type of human species, Homo sapien thingy. So we had to develop this fear to, you know, okay, that's a threat, stay over here. That fear influenced us to stay safe. And that's all fear is trying to do. It's trying to influence us to stay safe, to be in this comfort zone. But nowadays, I don't have to worry about a saber-toothed tiger or I don't even know the other human. I know it's Homo. I think we're Homo sapiens. The other type of Homo, whatever. I don't have to worry about that. So now my brain still has this fear mechanism. So now my fear is used to deter me from making a video in nature. Because what if someone sees me? How embarrassing that would be. How much that would make me fearful. You know, so this is something that we have to live with. I really can't, I mean, there probably is examples, but off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of when fear saved me. I really don't think any fear has ever done good for me in life. You know, that might be a little short-sighted because maybe I was fearful of something and it did protect me. But, and this is the thing too, our fear creates scenarios that aren't even real. These scenarios are not reality. We have created them in our head. So that fear that you have, that everyone's going to look at you, that everyone's going to think you're fat and ugly, they're going to think that your teeth are crooked, you've created that scenario. It is not real. It only exists in your head. But now what our brain tries to do is it tries to kind of fill in the gaps, right? Like we see people and we don't know what they're thinking, but our brain wants to fill in that gap of unknowingness, and most of the time, fear is what fills that gap. And then you just start falling in this cycle and you believe it more and more because now this fear kind of manifests itself into something real. Where, you know, someone looks at you and now it's a hit to your confidence because you believe that everyone looking at you is now dissing you, is thinking that your teeth are ugly or worrying about the grease stain. I have a grease stain on my shirt right now. I don't think no one saw, you know, I just came from work, so. But anyways, that's just something that we just overvalue fear too much. You know, I think about how many great things that we as a society have not experienced because the person who created that great experience was stopped by fear. They overthought it too much. You know, they needed the perfect plan. And the fear is like fear is the enemy. Fear is the ultimate master manipulator. You know, because first of all, it makes it seem real. It presents itself as valid. After you give it so much energy, it does manifest into something real, which is now just going to feed that fear more and more, which just continues this cycle. So yeah, fear is like the master manipulator. Fear is the enemy. You know, like I said earlier, I never even thought about it. I kind of flowed into that, I kind of cooked into that, but fear is just trying to influence us to be safe. But our brain, with how smart we are and how we have supercomputers in our head, our brain does not know what's best for us. I believe our soul knows what's best for us, but our brain, our logical thinking brain that wants to be logical, but is also illogical. I want to make a video on that. I don't want to get too off topic, but this logical part of our brain that just kind of looks at past data, probably takes past data from versions that we don't want to return to, and then tries to take that data and implement it right now. and have that data influence your actions today, you know? So yeah, fear's the enemy. And once you take that leap of courage, because that's what courage is, putting in the action while being scared, you feel better. You know, you do feel better. And like fear is, bro, fear is like whoever made fear, like they cooked. Maybe it was the devil, I don't know. But they cooked because like fear got it. Fear got it. You know? Fear is powerful. You know, it can even be implemented. Look at the government implementing fear into us to control our actions. You know, I'm not gonna get into that, but yeah, just know that not fearing is a choice that we have to make every day. You know, I feel good. You know, I feel good right now that I made this video. I'm glad I did, because I bet I would have regretted it. You know, and even while I was being fearful and listening to it and coming to terms with it, I knew that I would feel better making the video, but the fear still was like, nah, like don't make it though, you know, don't make it. But you know, I didn't listen to the fear. I had to just, it was like I was in a trance. I had to snap myself out of it and be like, yo, stop thinking, put the car in reverse, go to the gas station, go to this park, get out of the car, walk to here, and press record and start talking. And that's what I'm doing, and now I feel way better. You know, I'm glad I didn't choose fear, because I almost did. You know, I almost chose the fear. And like I said, it's on a small scale, medium scale, large scale. Fear will always be there. It will be. But if you guys enjoy this video, like, comment, subscribe, share. Let me know if you guys like the new change of scenery. I do like making videos out here. You know, my fearful scenarios actually didn't come into fruition because fear is an illusion. No one walked by. Even if they did, I would have. It's not like they're gonna shoot me. Hopefully they don't shoot me. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment, do all that. Thanks for listening.